Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Flameworking 102.18. Today I wanted to share a fun, really three-dimensional technique with you all. And the magic tool that I'm going to be using is a Ball Stylus. This is a tool for polymer clay, and it has a stainless steel ball on the end that's about 6 millimeters wide, and it's just the perfect size to press into your glass and give you these really beautiful little scoop marks. And that, combined with a whole bunch of clear and the fun cane that I'm going to show you in the beginning, gives you just a really great design, and it is just eye candy. And on that note, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time in the dungeon. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out with the cane I'm going to use for this pattern. And I want this to be a half and half color. So I'll start out with my first color, and this is a medium red. And I'll just kind of start getting it warm in the flame and start to make my gather. And it's kind of a semi-large gather, you know, like a big grape size in the end. Either way, I'm just going to start gathering up this glass and getting my punty ready so I can attach it just to the very end of my color. And then I'll go ahead and take my color away there. And once I have a nice big gather, I will go ahead and round it out a little bit in the marble mold. And this is a 1 and almost a ½ inch marble mold, so you can see kind of the size that I'm getting. It's not huge, but it's a good size. This is half the size. So what I'm going to do here, as I am heating up my second color, I will flatten this red so it makes a half round. And while I am getting my ivory nice and hot in a big gather, I will just kind of keep the red glass warm in the back of the flame. I don't want it popping off my mandrel like it did in the last video. Okay, when I'm ready, I'm just going to go ahead and add the ivory to that side, cast it away, and go ahead and give it a nice roll in the marble mold. And I thought that I needed a little bit more, like it wasn't quite half and half, so I went ahead and added a little bit more, and it still wasn't half and half, so go figure. I'm just gonna keep going. But it's close enough. So I'm gonna round this out. And now what I wanna do is use the intense black stringer. And this is right from the factory. I didn't make this stringer. So this is like a store-bought cane, and I will go ahead and just apply it on this gather in kind of 6 different stripes. It doesn't have to be perfect, because when you pull this out, everything will become very straight, even if you're a little shaky here. I'm going to pull that tip out a little bit more there so it touches the very end. And I do want to take a second to just kind of pull this out and make sure that all of those points come together at the very end. That looks good. So now that that is done, I just want to pull the opposite end of the cane or of the stringer and make sure that it's touching the mandrel. And I kind of thought I had a naked spot here, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to add a little stringer of red glass. And I'm glad I did this because it made the whole thing even that much more interesting. All right, now that I have all my color on here, I'm going to go ahead and just heat and smooth everything out. I don't necessarily roll it back into the marble mold. You know, I have this little tip on the end and I don't want to bend or crush that in the marble mold. So I'm just going to reheat and kind of melt everything in a little bit by rolling it out. And then I'll go ahead and just add my punty right to the tip of the glass. And I'm not going to pull the other side off and clean it or anything. As long as the black is touching the other mandrel, everything should stretch out fine on both ends. So all I need to do now is just heat everything up, get it nice and hot, and make my final pull. And I'm not going to twist this. I'm going to keep everything nice and straight, and I will worry about twisting and moving it around when I go to apply the cane. This is a perfect technique to play around with all sorts of fun colors in your cane. You don't want to have any clear in here, just the color. All right, now we're ready to make the bead. And you can definitely make this into a marble. You know, it doesn't always have to be a bead. Sometimes it's just easier for me to work my ideas off on the mandrel so I don't have to worry about things, you know, falling off. But sometimes I don't even use my beads as beads. I'll use them as other elements to something else. So I'm going to start out by using my ivory base color, the same ivory that's in the cane. So when you do this, it will be nice. I like having the same color so you don't really see, you don't notice that there's an undercolor here. But if you want to make this a different color, then you will see it after you apply the cane. So what I did here is I pulled my edges in. So the edges of my bead are kind of sharp here, and I will make up for that with the cane right here. So I'm going to apply the cane in a big spiral on one side, making sure that I kind of keep the cane slowly moving as well. So I'm getting all sorts of different patterns happening. And once I have a nice big spiral, I'll go ahead and kind of make one on the other side. I want to fill in this whole bead with the cane. And what I'm doing is I'm just holding the cane itself on the side of the flame, just on the side of the flame. If you go too far into the flame, your cane will get too hot. So make sure that you're in the right spot of your flame and you'll get more control that way. You want to be right in the spot where it just starts to flow. And once all this cane is applied, I'm going to go ahead and just start very gently rolling and flattening it out so it all kind of pushes up against itself. If some of the bottom color shows through, that's fine. You don't even notice it because the ivory is also in the cane. And now I just want to make sure I have a nice smooth surface to work off of, and I think that this just in itself looks great. Okay, let's go ahead and make some dimensionality here. And here's the tool I'm going to use. It is a Ball Stylus, and this tool is used for polymer clay, but because it has a steel tip, it works great in the glass. So I'm going to just start spot heating and pressing with this tool all over my bead. So I'm going to make a nice deep press, and I kind of felt like this wasn't deep enough, so I'm going to go ahead and just give this a quick reheat and repress it, and that kind of sets the depth for how far I want to go with each press. Okay, so this little bit of footage here goes a little crazy. I don't know what I was thinking when I was editing, but I didn't want you to miss anything. So basically I'm spot heating and I'm going back and I'm pressing. Sometimes I will make my indentation and then it will push another indentation off center. So then I will go back and repress several times. So anywhere that I can press this little ball into, I want to get everything as close together as I can And again, if you need to, you can go ahead and repress until you are happy with what you have. All right, we're getting close here. Things get a little crazy with my editing, so stay with me. Couple more times. All right, and here are our final little indentations. That one got a little crooked, so I want to open it up again. But in the long run, you should have something that looks like this. All right, so now let's go ahead and start adding our a ton of clear. And we're going to start out by just filling in all of these little cups with the clear glass. So I'm going to add a dollop of clear on every single one. Try not to get your dots to touch each other, but if they do a little bit, it will still look great. It'll be just fine. This is very different from using the tungsten pick. With the tungsten pick, you don't get the depth that you can get from this specific tool because the tungsten pick is going into a single point. And this is like a scoop mark taken out of the glass. And, you know, so you're going to get a different look if you use a tungsten pick. You won't get this type of look. The ball tool I have been able to find online. You want to look up Ball Stylus for polymer clay, and you can find a whole array of these ball tools. They're very cool. Okay, so once I have all my clear glass on here, I am going to very gently heat this in. I don't want to overheat one part or another. I want to heat everything in all at once. So really take your time melting this in. Make sure that all that clear glass looks like it's all kind of melting at the same rate. And once things are getting close, I will go ahead and just very, very gently roll this out. I don't want to press too hard when I roll. I'm really letting the weight of the glass do the work for me here. But you're just going to kind of get it into a rounded shape like this. And this is what we have so far. It's kind of hard to see because it's so hot, but you already start to see some depth happening. And like all my beads, when I do a lot of these encasements, you can stop at any time. But I'm going to take this as far as I can go so I can actually see the clear around the bead. And that will take 3 heavy encasements. So my first encasement is going to be from the very top all the way to the bottom. Try not to touch the mandrel when you do this. If you're having a hard time getting really close to the mandrel, don't worry, just add a little extra clear on the edge when you're done. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of pulling that clear glass on the edge of my marvering table there, just because I had the room to do it real quick, but I'm going to show you how I do it on this side coming up. So I want to start heating up this edge, and I will just pull in a little bit and reshape my bead, getting it back into, close to the shape that I want it to be. And my final shape is going to be a really nice, perfect round shape. So I need to fill in everything that doesn't make up for the round right now. So that's why it's so many layers of clear here. Okay, so my second layer, I will add very similar to the first layer, all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, overlapping slightly as I go. And this is where my edges, I really kind of want my edges to look nice every time. So once I have finished a full encasement like this, I will clean up my edges first and then kind of worry about melting the center part. So right here, I'm working on the left side. I'm going to heat it up and kind of smooth it down a little bit. And then I will take my butter knife and very gently pull it in at a 45-degree angle, and that should bring all that clear as close as it can get to the mandrel. I'm going to do it on the right side now so you can see it better. Okay, so I'm just heating it up real nice, and I'm just giving it kind of a 45-degree angle here. And try not to score the bead release with your knife if you're using that tool. So every time I swipe my glass on, I always am slightly off center. You know, my starting swipe, that edge is always bigger than the other edge. So I want to take a second here to kind of even my shape out. There we go. All right, and this layer looks great. This is our second layer. Yes, it looks good. And you could stop here and it will give you a beautiful, nice, interesting depth and strange alien landscape. But this final pass of clear glass will give you the clear on the outside that you can see. It'll give you a nice thick edge of clear. It's interesting how much glass you have to add in order to see that. And it's already, I like the size that it's at. It's at the size of becoming a nice rounded bead. And I'm going to do the same thing with my edges here. I want to just kind of shape it up and mimic that round curve real quick on both sides. So, you know, it'll be easier for me to get to my final shape. You will notice that you may or may not trap little air bubbles in here. There were a few of these pockets that have a little tiny bubble inside, but for the most part, it will give you a really nice clear lens on every single one of those little cups when you add the clear inside. And that's it, guys. I'm just going to round this out and we'll be done. I hope you enjoyed this one. It is a lot of fun to play with the depth of the glass, and I just love that about this bead. So let me know what you think. And on that note, I hope to see you all next time in the dungeon.